Okay, tonight we have Asheena Woods. We got aka Miss Woods. All right. Now, for y'all that don't know her, she's a barber school owner. I know she doesn't look like it, but yes, she is a barber school owner. She's got a tax business. I'll be following on Instagram. Y'all saw where she got that white Mercedes Benz truck. She owns her building. She has two sons. She takes them to baseball and all of that. She goes to the NFL football games. We saw at that Detroit Lions game. She does a lot of stuff. Just saw one of them houses. She had a swimming pool in the back. Talking about she don't want another house with a pool. But I'm not going to tell y'all everything about her. But one thing y'all need to know, y'all school owners, current and uh present and past and future, she does personal credit and business credit. Now I know there's a lot of Instagram gurus out here that are scam artists, but she's not. She's gonna get your credit right and your business credit right. So all going through accreditation, you definitely want the business credit. You don't even have to touch it, but you want that because that way you can pass your financials. A lot of y'all are scared about all this money. No, you can use this business credit. So I ain't gonna take up no more time now. I will share this. She grew up in an orphan home. Okay. When I say orphan, she's gonna tell y'all a little bit about this, but it was almost like she escaped Alcatraz. She left when she was like 15 and been out on her own ever since. They got an apartment, got her a car, but I ain't gonna tell all that. But Sheena, let's start with your childhood because you don't look like where you've been and what you've been through. So let's start from there because when you watch this on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, I don't want them to have no excuses.
Okay, cool. So, a little bit about me and where I come from. I'm Asheena Woods, like Mr. Chin said. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So coming up, I was in foster care from 2 days old to 18 years of age. I was a drug baby, and so I was born in Tampa. My mom was incarcerated, and I was just kind of threw out there in the system. Right, I did have an aunt who took me in, and she abused me, and so from there, I kind of was like here, there, a little bit of everywhere. Right, and growing up, you seek that motherly, fatherly love that you never had, and so I was kind of forced to just leave and just go do my own thing because I wanted more, and I feel like when my auntie lied to me about getting me out of the system, that kind of broke my heart, and I'm like, look, I don't want to be in these shelters and foster homes and group homes. Like, I'm not depressed. Like, I'm only depressed because I want love, right? So I ran away. I ran away at the age of 15. And I would always call my social worker and be like, hey, Brenda, I'm just letting you know I'm okay or whatever. And she was like, Asheena, where are you? I'm like, I'm not telling you. But I would contact them because I didn't want them to like post me as missing or whatever. And so from there, I got picked up one time. They had a pickup order out for me. But when I got picked up, it was like God sent this lady that I never seen before, and she acted like she was my aunt. And so the police relieved me to this lady. And I was just kind of on my own. I worked 2 jobs. I did OJT to get like my CNA license. I worked at Shoney's, and I would save up like $20 a day. So 4 to 5 days a week, I had $100. 4 weeks, that's $400. And this was years ago. So rent was a little bit cheaper back then. So I maintained. I got me a car from a title loan place. I paid $2,000 for like a little Ford Focus. Super cool Ninja Turtle. And it just kind of went from there. When I ran away, 15 to 18, I contacted my social worker and I was like, hey, Miss Brenda, what do I need to do to get emancipated? And she was like, well, we go to court today. It was a Friday. I turned 18 years of age. And so she was like, call me after lunch and we'll see how it goes. So when I called her, she was like, well, the judge said you prove you can live independently. So we need an address to send you your relief of custody. So I gave them an address where, in case they wanted to try to come get me, they wouldn't find me. And so they mailed me literally a copy of my birth certificate, social security card, Medicaid card, and my relief of custody. And I've been on my own since then. And so, like, you know, just where I come from, wanting more, it was like I was always determined to just do it, just figure it out. And that's kind of how it went. And so,
Now,
just kind
how did you escape? Can you tell us about that? Did you jump a fence? Tell us that.
So, okay, I left the facility. When I left the facility, I went to stay with one of my friends and her grandma who lived in Picayune, Mississippi. And I met this girl at a place called Mill Creek. And it was like an institution where, you know, they house people for it, that you have to be diagnosed with something. But because I didn't have anywhere to go, they would just diagnose me with anxiety, depression, and put me in these places just to be able to house me somewhere, because back then there was a lack of foster homes and stuff. So I escaped with my friend and she was on the run. So when the police came to get her, she took off running. And like, I'm just at her grandma's house. I'm just standing outside looking around. So they took me in. And I'm like, holy crap. And it was just God. It was this guy that she knew. And so he sent this lady up there to like get me, because the guy that she was conversing with at that time knew that I was in a situation too. So he sent this lady who's like older, and she was real cool and down to earth. And the lady came up there and she was like, now, you know, if your mama see you with them shorts on, she gonna tear your butt up. And I'm like, okay, cool. She playing the game, you know. So I was able to get away from that. But kind of fast forward, I was at an event on Mother's Day, and these people that I don't even know, like literally, somebody hit me with the bottle, and like I was like catching blood with my shirt, and so I went to the hospital. And from there, I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't know, I might need to just turn myself in. But I called my auntie, the same auntie that abused me, because that was home for me at one point. And so when I called my aunt, she was like, well, you know, my doors is always open and all this and that. And so, okay, I went there because I'm like, maybe I can sleep a little bit. Well, guess what? My auntie turned me into my social worker. So when she turned me in, like, I lost it. Like, I'm like, how dare you, you know? And I probably did some disrespectful things at that time, verbally. But when my social worker got me, I was like, can you just take me to McDonald's before you take me to the shelter? And she was like, well, we got to go over here first. And then all of a sudden, we pull in this place called, it was the court programs, and they put me on house arrest. And so we went to the shelter, and I kept a little teddy bear, right? So in my teddy bear, I had like a little hole in the neck, and I would keep a cell phone because I'm like, I got to go. So I get to the shelter, and I told my social worker, I was like, listen, I don't think you should waste your time doing this paperwork because I'm about to leave. And she signed me in the place. And guess what? Right here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And she signed me in the place. And sure enough, they put me in school. When I got to school, I don't know how I did it, but I got that house arrest being off my ankle, and I took off, and I never turned around. So that's kind of how, you know, I ran.
Okay. So now, were you going to school or anything?
Yes, I was going to school. You know, of course, they always gonna make sure you're enrolled in school because this is just legal. But when I ran away, I actually went to a private school in order to obtain my high school diploma. Well, I didn't graduate, I only had a transcript. So moving forward, as I got older, I'm like, you know what? I just want my high school diploma. So what I did was Penn Foster online. I had a transcript of a 12th grade completion, but I just wanted that high school diploma. So I took the extra initiative to get my high school diploma from Penn Foster online.
Okay. And so now you're what, 18?
I was right, yep, 18, 19. Yep, I was 19 when I actually did the Penn Foster online.
And you got your own car, the Ford Focus, and you living in an apartment.
Yes, I was living in a little apartment
How
that
you get the apartment?
the lady that I met, she signed for it for me. And I was working, so she knew I was gonna pay for it. And she just looked out on me.
And then what did you do next? Go to beauty school, CNA school? What was
Yeah,
next?
so I started at Chris Beauty College. I mean, not Chris, Blue Cliff on the coast. And it was a cosmetology program. It just wasn't for me. Then I went to another barber college, J&J hair design at the time. And at that time, you would take like an exam to get into the program. But I got in there, didn't finish it because I was just still young and maneuvering. And so then about a year or so later, I'm like, you know what? I need to go ahead. I'm doing hair on the side to make money. People are always calling me for this. I need to get something under my belt because college really ain't for me. But I know I want to make some money. I know I want to do something. I know I want to at least be able to say I have these credentials, right? So I went to barber college. When I went to barber college, it was like this little, small town college, and it was like you can get finished in 6 months. And I'm like, I might need to do that, right? So I did that. Before I could even get started good, I hadn't opened a shop. I opened a shop because I'm like, I'm gonna get my license. Went to barber school, did not like my instructors under no circumstances. They always made me feel like singled out. I was the only person coming to class, being attentive. My instructor told me one day, let somebody else answer the question. You put your hands down. And I'm like, wait a minute, I pay my money to go here too. I'm trying to learn. And so we kind of had a little riffraff there. And after that, when I told him, I said, look, I don't want to feel like my money is on the line. So I just kind of stayed humble and got through the program. And when I went to board, didn't learn nothing at the school, I failed. I failed by 2 points. They made it seem way worse than what it actually was. We wasn't prepped properly for board. I didn't have nothing that I really needed because it wasn't laid out for me. So then they tried to make me go back to school, but I pulled the laws myself, right? And so I'm like, well, I got a couple times to take the test. So I contacted the state board. Contacted the state board, got back in 30 days. I stayed up all night and day studying the My Lady Barbering book. And when I tell you, I went back in 30 days and I made a 94 on my examination. And I was just so relieved, right? And then I'm like, you know what? Whole time I'm in the school, I'm like, if they run the school like this, I can run one too. So I started keeping up with tests and study guides, and I pulled my contract. What need to be in the contract? Like I started keeping all my stuff because I was like, I'm gonna open up a school and I'm gonna put it right across the street from them. Right. So then, well, you gotta have an instructor license. So I tried to go back to instructor school, couldn't do it. I just backed off a little bit, opened my boutique. I had a salon boutique. I was thriving during COVID, making great money. Once I actually had enough money and had obtained all of the things, because I kind of phased out the college, just trying to buy stuff so I wouldn't crash financially. And once I did that, my friend that I helped build her business up as well, she wanted me to go in on this storefront. And I'm like, why would I pay $2,000 on somebody else's building and we paying $4,000? You paying $2,000, I'm paying $2,000. I might as well have my own building. So we kind of had a little, disagreement there about the building. And I was like, you know what? Let me finna focus on my college. And sure enough, I found the perfect building. I thought at the time it was like 1,500 square foot. They wanted $1,500 for the building. Of course I got the laws, but I don't know everything. So I'm thinking I just need a total of 10 stations. So I called a board. They wasn't very helpful. And they're like, 10 stations, as long as you got a total of 10, it can be 5 styling stations, 5 shampoo bowls. So I spent all this money in this building doing this stuff. And then when the board member came out to do my inspection, he was like, where's your other stations? I'm like, well, I thought I only had to have a total of 10. So immediately I had to expand. I luckily they had a suite next door to the suite that I was renting. So I had to it had no ceiling in it. It had no AC unit. I had to put a drop ceiling, AC unit, and all this good stuff. And I'm like, immediately it cost me double what I thought I was gonna be paying in expenses. So we went from $1,500 to $3,000. And I'm like, oh Jesus. Only person I can depend on is the good man above. So I just prayed. I'm like, Lord, just lead me and guide me. I'm just praying. And it worked. I mean, it worked for me. The guy did give me a little leeway on a month's rent, you know, because so much stuff had to be done. But I was so determined to get the college open. I'm like, whatever it takes. So I pretty much emptied out trying to do that. But I knew I had a plan, and I knew if I set my goals and I did it properly, then God would meet me at my needs. And so I prayed and I manifested. And in 12 months, literally, the month that my lease was due to be up, I bought my first building.
You bought the first building. Now, them five, when you thought you needed 10 stations, you thought you needed 5 shampoo bowls and 5 stations to do
Yeah.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
now, what were you doing leading up before you opened the school? When you graduated from barber school,
Yes.
what were you doing all of those years between that?
So I phased it out. I started ordering stuff little by little, you know, because this stuff you calculate, it's expensive. So I just started ordering stuff little by little. Like every month I would purchase some stuff. And once I had most of the things that I needed, I just took a dive.
Okay. And then you open the school, you get approved.
Opened the school, got approved. My very first student, I was like, man, who gonna come? Who gonna come to my college? I'm a female on the Barber college. You know, there was some doubt there for sure. But I said, you know what? Faith and fear don't go together. If I'm gonna have faith in God, I can't be fearful. My very first student, his mom came with him, and she works for this program here that offer local fundings, right? And she just thought the establishment was so nice, and she was so willing to, you know, give me information about how these students can get their tuition funding and stuff. And to be honest, she was very helpful, and that kind of opened the avenue. But I've only had a few students in the almost 5 years I've been in business to actually get funded through that program, because it depends on the county that you live in. So they can't guarantee you if you can get approved for it, because it's based off the household. So when my first student came, it was just like a sense of relief. But then I didn't have instructor license at the time because I stopped going to instructor school and I just opened my college. And so when I did that, I'm like, I'm gonna just go through my own program, right? So I hired an instructor who cut my kids' hair, which I thought was a family friend at the time, right? And so I opened officially November 2nd, and then January the 5th, this guy wanted a loan and a loan and a loan. Okay, cool. So I'm like, I'm only going to be able to pay you for this week. So I received a text message about, hey, can I get a loan for 2 weeks so I can have money to go to Atlanta? You know, da 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 da. And I'm like, hey, I'm only going to be able to pay for this week. Could I have did that? Of course, but we're not going to start this type of behavior. So I got turned into the state. I got turned into the state, went under investigation. I mean, it was an experience. So the person who called me and told me I was going under investigation, I met this lady at like 3 in the morning trying to get my son a PS5 for Christmas. And a fun fact is her son was dating this girl who lives in Atlanta, and she was a esthetician. And so I let her work in my salon for free for a whole year. And so that lady was like, I've heard so much about you, and I'm just so happy to meet you, and all this and that. And so when I was at my college, I was on a conference call sitting in my Jeep. And she called me and she called me, and me and this person don't talk. So I'm like, something have to be wrong. And I was like, hey, can I call you right back? She was like, no, Asheena, it's very important. Such and such just called me and said that the state finna come shut you down. My heart dropped to the floor. I'm like, oh my God. I immediately knew what it was, because the moment I didn't give him that 2 weeks loan, he didn't show up for work the next morning. So guess what? I don't have a licensed instructor. I'm not an instructor. I'm a student instructor, but I went in a secure mindset. What do I got to do? So I thought I was going to be able to manipulate the board and just go and push my hours through. But that didn't work. So they didn't come that day. So when I got that call, I'm like, oh my God. I sent the students home, because what I didn't want was them to get a whiff of what was going on. But of course, people talk, it's a small town, etc. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna just call my pastor. So I called my pastor and I was like, listen, I need a special prayer. This is what's going on. And he was like, well, first of all, God is gonna move on your behalf because of your act of faith. And he said that whatever was about to transpire, the people are not gonna come see you today. He said, but they're coming, right? And he prayed for me and everything. And so the next day, it was like 7 o'clock in the evening. I got the call and they were coming, but it was a scheduled time, not just a pop up. No students was there, it went cool. Of course, I got shut down. I was due to go to board for my instructor examination on March the 4th, right? So that was that following Monday. I had just went on a spiritual fast, okay, the Monday before the 4th of March. And that happened. So every day it was a challenge. Every day for 7 days straight, it was a challenge. That following Friday, I went to visit the lady at her salon. And when I was there, I got a phone call and it was the investigator. So once I received that call, I ran to my truck because I didn't want anyone, listening in on what was going on or whatever. So when he called and I was like, so what do I need to do? And he was like, well, the only thing I can tell you is you better have your stuff together. He said, they're calling you in on an emergency meeting Sunday. If you go take your state board examination, then you probably gonna be, your license will be revoked, you will be barred in the state of Mississippi. And so like, oh my goodness. I mean, I just didn't even know what to do at that moment. I broke down, literally. And so she came out, she was like, Sheena, what's wrong? And I'm like, I just don't know what I did to this person. And what did I do to deserve this, And I just didn't know because I had done everything right by him. Like, you can do your clients up here, you can make money on the floor. I'm paying you every Thursday before lunch. Like, I mean, what more could you have asked for, right? So she was like, all you need is an instructor. I said, yes, ma'am. And her client was there. Her client, he was a car wash across the street. She was like, Bill, come here. So he came over there and she was like, what's your mother-in-law phone number? So I got to get myself together to make this initiative, to call her. And so I called the lady and I'm like, hey, my name is Asheena Woods and I'm just stepping out on faith. I understand you retired and I'm just in a little situation and I went to tell her everything. And she was like, well, where is the school located? And I said, it's right across from the mall behind Lowe's. And she said, behind Lowe's? I said, yes, ma'am. And she goes, I live behind Lowe's. And I said, are you serious? She was like, yeah. She said, where behind Lowe's? So I told her. And she was like, are you there now? I said, no, ma'am, but I can be there in about 3 or 4 minutes. So she came over, she met me at the school. We walking through the school, and I mean, it really felt like this lady was my mom or something. Like she come up in there, she old school, she's 70-some years old, but she really is deep in this barber industry, right? And so she coming in, and one of my students had left a shampoo bowl on top of the station. I mean, it was a chemical bowl on top of the station, and so she was like, what is this doing here? And I was like, just leave it there. If you help me, I'll show you how I handle those situations, right? So I remember like yesterday where we were standing in the building and she was like, I'm gonna see you through this. I'm gonna see you through it. I told her everything. I told her the guy turned me into the state. I told her what he turned me in for. She said she was gonna see me through it. And so her license was due to expire on March the 4th. So she said, I called the investigator. I was like, hey, I think I got an instructor. Could I do a proposal to hire in a secondary instructor to so that I can finish obtaining my hours? So I lost a month worth of hours. Remind you, this started in January. By March, I had to go to board. And I lost a month worth of hours because they was like, well, who was teaching at that time? I didn't have that licensed instructor on file, whatever. So I explained to my students and let them know that, hey, I'm going to make it right, that we being backed up for a month or whatever. But I took her license to the board with me. When I called the investigator and asked could I hire her in as a secondary instructor, I took her license with me that Sunday and paid for them to be nude and everything. And so it just kind of worked out. It all worked out in my favor. And come to find out, this lady, when I was a little girl, her husband was my pastor.
Hmm.
And she recently, in November, just lost her husband after she just was taking a week off of work, and she lost her husband the week after. And so she have just went part-time, but she has held on and she has been here with me ever since. So that's that.
Okay, so now, but you got a lot of stories to share with them. So now you running the school, you getting some students. How did you get students?
I got a billboard that was located by the college, just marketing, Facebook, word of mouth. I actually got out, did the old school way, putting flyers on store doors and passing them out to people, going to the mall parking lot, putting them on cars, just different little things. Just trying to reel those students in. But you got to think, it was only one small town college here for many years. So when I opened his college, it was like a wow factor. So everybody want to come and see what's going on. People that I knew went to this other college started trying to come, and it just started flowing. Like I have most of my students come at least an hour away right now to this day.
Now, how did you get clients to come in to get services?
It was an apartment. It was a couple apartment complex around the area, and I would just like offer things to the community. Like for Halloween, I would do a trunk or treat, give away free food and things like that. And so that would just open up that airway for publicity. And once they start coming, they ask questions, and then I'm like, hey, bring your kids over to get a haircut. It's on me, And so I provide opportunities. So my college is ran a little bit different than most colleges. I don't make money off my clinic floor, and you're probably like, Asheena, you might want to rethink that. But this is the thing. I feel that we're living in a time where everybody is trying to make a living. So if we can provide opportunities to people like when coming up, I didn't have that. I mean, you don't even understand. Like I didn't even know how I was gonna pay my little $5,000-$6,000 tuition. Just that $75 a week, and then you get close to your hours, and you still got to balance. And it was hard. I didn't have help, mom, dad, sister, brother, auntie, uncle, and just letting them make money off the floor. Then students start finding out about that. They saving money on booth rent. It was like paying booth rent, but it's tuition, and it's helping you obtain your credentials to fulfill your career. So I think that kind of sets me apart from most colleges because I offer incentives such as helping you build your personal and business credit, helping you start your business. Some people just don't know the way.
How did you learn about personal and business credit?
So with the personal credit, it was like I really never had no one to sign for anything for me. I had a friend who she would, when I was, a little bit younger, she put me on as an authorized user on her credit card. And so I kind of started learning things along the way just from that. And so when I would go to try to do something, I would be knocked down. And it was like, well, you need to have this and you need to have that. And I paid somebody to do my credit. And I was like, I had to repair before I can build because I didn't know no better, right? And so I just started taking these different things and just implementing them. And then so many people started asking questions and questions. So I would just research and reach out to people that, was in that field. And I would just take notes, and I created these strategies, and it just made me who I am today. And that's why I was able to purchase that building.
So, and then you learned about business credit too.
Yes, I did. And your personal credit definitely plays a part because when we talk business credit, a lot of people just don't know the difference. Like they're like, oh, I'm getting my business thing. Well, you gotta kind of know what you're doing, because if you're not writing it off, then it's really pointless because you're gonna be a guarantor anyways, depending on what you're doing until you establish that relationship with the bank or whatever. So the personal credit played a part in being able to obtain business credit. And so that's why it's important for people to understand that, hey, just because you got an EIN and a Duns and Bradstreet, that don't make you have business credit. You have to have trade references and things like that. It's all about how you do your business. So
Okay. I'm gonna get them your information on that too, because a lot of people need that. Now,
okay.
what about that boutique? Can you tell us about the boutique?
So the boutique, 17, 18, I always did like little knockoff stuff, right? Where I was like mobile. Like I would go to Atlanta and places and buy all this stuff, and I would come back here and sell it. So I already kind of had a thrive in there or whatever for the boutique. But then I had a salon and I was like, I need to offer something else to make some more money. And so I just started buying like little things to put in the shop. And then I met this lady who had a boutique in another county that was about 30, 40 minutes from my city. And so when we met, I'm kind of like self-made fame here in my town. So people are gonna always flock to people that they think they can benefit off of. And so she was like, girl, you need to come out of these clothes and da da da. And so I'm paying attention. So boxes coming in, I'm getting the vendor's name. I'm like, you just gotta do what you gotta do because people are really not gonna help you if you're not taking that initiative to do it yourself. And so I was modeling for her and stuff like that. And I'm like, we doing all this. I might as well start offering some shoes and accessories with it. And so we would go on trips to California and all these places and hand pick our merchandise. And I just kind of helped her grow her business while growing mine. And it just kind of went from there. And then stores closed down during COVID and we making 10, 15, 20,000 a week. I'm like, I like this, you know? And so it was making it do what it had to do until things start slowing down.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you get into the tax thing? Because you had like a lot of different businesses, just money come from everywhere.
Yeah.
How'd your brain even get like that to even do stuff? Because a lot of people scared or lazy or just don't want to do nothing.
Right. So again, it goes back to having that, I guess, self-made fame in your town. This guy that I reached out to me who seen I was selling the little stuff on the side and everything, he reached out to me and was like, man, you need to come do taxes with me. He started showing me bank statements and all that just to reel me in. Well, the whole time he was a convicted felon and he wasn't supposed to be doing taxes no way, right? And so one day I was in there, I was just inputting the data, and then once they come from me, they would go to him and he would like verify my. So I'm picking up on it. So a lady and her son came in one day and she was just really upset about, this and that. And after you just done did something for so long, now you just gonna try to, you curious, you gonna play with the system a little bit, right? And so I'm very smart. And when I started looking at the system, I'm like, these people supposed to got this amount of money. He charged them this. I mean, that just broke my heart. It broke my heart. And so I went to him. I was like, hey, is there something I need to know? Because I just felt the energy, right? And that's how I met that girl. So that girl that wanted to help that boutique, the whole time it was her and him doing business together. He was working under her because he was a convicted felon and couldn't have an EFIN number in his name or a PTIN number. So they used me to input the data to make it easier for them to make the money. So I'm like, you know what? No, I know too many people. So I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, is this something I need to know? And I asked her, could I talk to her? And we talked after I left the office that day. And she was like, I didn't know this. And then so the federal ended up calling my phone one day, asking me probing questions about who do my taxes and who this and who that. And I'm telling them because what else am I supposed to do if you're not telling me what I'm doing, right? And so I couldn't protect them. I couldn't vouch for them because I'm in the dark. I don't know nothing. These people call me. All I can tell them is what I do know if you ain't told me nothing different. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm 100% legal. I'm too legit. Like, I don't have to do this. I can get my own PTIN number. I can get my own EFIN number. Like, but they didn't want to tell me these things because they knew what it would bring forth, right? And so it was like I was helping them, but they wasn't trying to help me. And I just kind of picked up on the game. And once I picked up on it, I ran with it. So now I own my own software, and different little things like that.
Now, when you got ready to open this school, were you scared, or did people say you don't need to do that? Can you tell us about that?
No, I didn't share it with anyone. I just kind of did it. When I did it, I did it. I mean, I did it. I rented the building in August. I officially opened my doors November the 2nd. And I just did it. Like, I didn't really share it with anybody. When the billboard went up and it hit the media, that's when they knew. Because, I mean, sometimes you can't let everybody in on your decisions and your plans, because of course they're going to have an opinion, and once you start getting so many opinions, it deter you from your mission and your mindset, because now you're thinking about what they think or what they feel, but their mission, mine is different than the next person. So I have to focus on what Asheena want to do, right? And that's just kind of how it was.
Now, when you opened your school, you said it was another school, right? Was it another school there?
Yep.
Okay. How did they feel, or how was that? Since they had been there for so long, and then this new person comes.
Well, the person that turned me into the state so happens to work next door to that other college, right? And so when I bought this building, I mean, it's just amazing how God worked. And you're going to hear me say a lot about God because I know where my help and strength come from. But my building sits across the street, like it's a red light that separates the road. And so I'm on the right and they're on the left, right? So for me, I'm right, and for God to place me in front of them, it kind of just brought me back to where I come from. Like, okay, so now I sacrificed this and I dealt with this and I stayed humble. And then look how he just set me across the street. And I never thought about, at first I was like, I don't know if that's gonna be a good idea. But what I had to remind myself is, I mean, you can't worry about what people think. Then nobody care about me when they try to get me to go pay to go back to school. Then nobody think about me when, knowing I come from foster care and didn't nobody help me, didn't nobody provide me an opportunity. So if God has aligned things for me, I'm gonna roll with it. I can't question his work. And so I got set across the street from the school and the person.
And they're still there?
And they are still there. And guess what? I'm still flowing and I'm still going. And my tuition is double the amount, and I don't have room for students. And I'm looking for a bigger building. So
now, okay, so the school is going. Can you share more with us? Like, being a woman having a barber school, because a lot of times women do Cosmo, aesthetics, nails. So can you kind of share some of that with the women on here? Because we got a lot of women on here.
for me, I think for me, I'm very headstrong and I am very firm on what I believe in. So dealing with men tends to be a little bit easier than women. And the reason why I chose barbering over cosmetology is because cosmetology requires more. It requires you to do all these things. You can't take one test if you don't pass the other. And I'm just like, we trained to use more implement tools and equipment. Why not do the barbering, right? And it's easier at the board. So with that, there was some rocky moments where I'm like, I don't know, whatever. But I mean, the way I look at it is it's easier to deal with men than women. If you're, woman to woman, just like it's harder for men to deal with men, especially when you having to be told what to do and things like that. So I just feel like as long as you do the right thing towards people, then everything else is going to align. But I mean, there were some thoughts and doubts along the way, but it has gotten better and it's very smoother for me because I mean, my students, they respect me for who I am, and I got a lot of older students. I have pastors, I have had people who've instructed university colleges. I've just had all kinds of students, and it just opened my eyes and my mindset to think bigger and to want more and to strive for more. And just they motivate me because I have to be there before the first student get there. I have to have my doors open, my lights on. I have to already be there. If a student beat me to class, I don't feel right.
What are your hours of operation?
It's Monday through Thursday from 8 to 5, and we are about to start a night program March.
Okay. And as far as like social media and stuff, how can people find you?
I am on Facebook, the Art Barber College. I do post stuff on my personal page, Asheena Woods. I was on Instagram, but Instagram just wasn't doing the flow for me for the barbering. So I just kind of converted it back to my personal page. But we are on Google, and we do have a website that can be found on the Art Barber College page on Facebook.
Okay, so I want to go, I guess I'm going to share some of your stuff so they can actually see it. Because a lot of people, we got a lot of beauty professionals on here, and we like to look at stuff. You know, we like to see stuff. So I'm going to go to your page.
You will see a little delay in the last
Right.
couple of months because we encountered a small fire, but we were approved virtually to continue operating, virtual classes. We met at community centers and things like that. So today was kind of our first day back in a traditional setting. So yeah.
Okay. So I'll click on some pictures. Can you kind of share?
So this is our classroom, and the lady up front is Miss Ola, who is the instructor. She retired from Pearl River Community College. She's just hands down phenomenal. So I'm sure somebody on here know Miss Ola. She old school and she is good at what she do, and she can do barbering with her eyes closed. And she be getting on me. Now, Miss Woods, you know that's not how this go. And it just helps me, it helps me and mold me into being better within my career field. And then the guy up front, he's a student instructor. That's LJ. He's from Macomb, Mississippi. And look at Miss Buckley. She knows Miss Ola. Miss Ola is amazing. And she told me when she came in, she said, "Now I'm not gonna leave you hanging, Miss Woods. I'm gonna see you through this." And she have literally seen me through.
Um, I guess I'll just scroll and you can just tell me when to stop or whatever.
We just kind of going over doing some little knowledge checks and things like that. We do a lot of fun stuff. Right there, you see, I gave a student an incentive of $500. I was going back and forth with the board. They kind of changed some things up on the rubric and of the practical procedures. And I said, well, hold on, we can't do color application in the top right. I'm like, y'all gotta get this corrected, because if y'all got this information on the state board website, then these students are going to be trained the wrong way. And so I sent the letter of clarification to the board. It took them forever to get back with me. And so I called them and I said, hey, I need an update on my email. And so they said, well, the president might say whatever the book say. So that kind of pushed me a little bit. I'm like, okay. I went in the classroom. As soon as I hung up the phone, I said, which one of y'all can take me to the page right now in the book where it talks about color application? Where did you apply color application and all this good stuff? And so Terrell, which is the one you seen on there, he took me straight to the book because we had just got done doing color application and stuff like that. And we like, color application got to be starting the most resistant part of the head. Of course, it's not going to be the top right. And so he took me straight to it, and I gave him a $500 off his tuition as an incentive, because that speaks volume, and it lets me know that, hey, this student is paying attention. So
okay. Now what are they doing here?
They are working on some state board procedures. So Miss Ola is kind of going over state board practical procedures and things like that.
Let me see.
We do give bags to home. Right there, we that's me and my student instructor. We attended a meeting for continuing education credits in Jackson. And that day particularly, the president came to me and he needed an inspector, right? And so I don't know, I had been recommended by multiple people, and he was like, and I said, well, Mr. Mike, I'll tell you like this. If you need a good player on your team, you got you one. And so he just kind of hired me in, and that was that. But I haven't been doing as much as I would like to do. I am planning to do a community giveaway, shoes and clothes and food and all that good stuff in the next couple weeks. But we just kind of do what we can when we can. I'm not a good marketing person. So I started doing my own flyers and stuff, so they probably not as
Well, now poster my wall. Everybody remember this. Poster my wall. You can fire your graphics designer. They have graphic designs already done for you. All y'all got to do is put y'all's picture in there and put the words on it, and it looks like a graphic designer did it. Poster my wall. So we'll keep going.
my wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, can we go to your personal page?
Sure.
Okay. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go to her personal page. Instagram. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, it's so funny because I feel like with Instagram, I don't know. Instagram could be a little iffy sometimes.
Okay. Tell us about this.
So I really never been into foreign vehicles, right? But I make the money to afford it. And so a couple months ago, I went to get a regular routine maintenance. I bought a 2023 electric Jeep last December in 2022. And so I had the Jeep right at a year. I went in October to get a regular routine oil change. And when I went there, I left and I had like this, I felt this wobble on my Jeep. And so I'm like, I took it up there. I ended up getting sick with a sinus infection. So it was like a week or so later before I could actually go back up there. When I went back up there, it was like, oh, we need to be balanced. I'm like, a balance don't come with a tire rotation. I thought if you rotate tires, you do a balance or whatever. They was like, no, pay for a tire balance. Still the same issue. So at this point, now I don't realize I have a death wobble. So if anybody know about Jeeps and stuff like that, you might get 1 out of 20 Jeeps that have a death wobble. So my Jeep had a death wobble. It's brand new. I'm like, I work too much. I'm always going. Like, I can't be riding around like this, right? So I went up there. It's like, the part gonna take 3 months. I'm like, well, that's why I got Jeep Wave. So are y'all gonna put me in another vehicle? Because why would I have to rent a vehicle and this is what I pay for all of this warranty stuff up front for? Well, Miss Woods is gonna be 3 months. If we put an aftermarket part on there, I was like, you know what? I make too much money for this. I just came home, I thought about it, I prayed. I'm like, I love a Jeep. I love Jeeping the coast. I love riding the beach. I love hanging my feet out the doors. And I'm like, I can get another Jeep. I need warranty. So I drove down, I prayed, I said, Lord, if I drive this truck down here to this Mercedes-Benz dealership, I'm not driving it back home. And that's what I did. I seen that one. I actually went to get it was a black AMG 53 base model, whatever. And so I got there, it was on the showroom floor, and it was nice, but I really didn't love it in person. So I seen that one on the showroom floor. I'm like, yeah, I like this one, and it's a few thousands cheaper. Let me get this one with the panoramic top. And it was harder to get it because they require more money. But I'm like, that's what I work hard for. Let me reward myself. And I purchased it.
Okay, and so that was the Jeep that you used to have.
That was my Jeep. Yep, that was my Jeep. I've had 3 brand new Jeeps actually.
Okay. And then you went to tell us about the football game.
I went out there to look at some properties and handle some business. And so one of my friend girls that was out there, I'm like, you know what? We got a Lions game. Let's just go here. And so we went there and we just hung out or whatever and just had a good little time just to have something to do.
Okay. Now, how did it, well, tell us about that vehicle. How does it drive? How does it feel?
Smooth ride.
How does what
It's
about the smell?
definitely it's amazing. I got Mercedes-Benz perfume for my incense. It's amazing. I mean, it's definitely a smooth ride. You got 100,000 mile warranty. You need an oil change. They come pick it up and bring you another Mercedes to drive in, and it just kind of fits my lifestyle. You know.
Now, what was that Ford Focus like? You remember that vehicle you bought from the what was the check cash, the title place? Tell us about that.
Hey, the little Ninja Turtle got me where I needed to be. The Ninja Turtle got me where I needed to be. I'll just say that.
Did it have air conditioner, heat,
It
or
had it did. It
did
had AC and heat. And that's all that mattered. Now I did have to give me a tire when I first got it, but I got the tire from the little Mexican place for about $40.
Mm-hmm. So how does it feel to be able to go to your son's games and be in their lives, spend all that time with them? Can you tell us about that?
That is it's amazing. It's a feeling that I really cannot describe. It's an amazing feeling. My kids think the world of me. They friends think that their mom is rich because we own a college and all this good stuff. And I tell them, baby, that's why mama work hard. So I can take care of y'all. And that's why y'all have to go to school and work hard to make me happy, to make me proud. But they love it. They love to be able to get with, they great kids, they make great grades. My oldest son is 11, my baby is 7. My oldest boy, 5th grade, student council president. Never had anything other than an A+. Same for my baby boy, and they grateful kids. They great kids. They do what they supposed to do. And I thought it was so cool when they just went back after Christmas. My son, they didn't really want it. I said, baby, this year we're not doing all that. We're gonna help somebody else. Y'all gonna get 5 things you really want. And of course they end up getting 50 things. But one of the things my oldest boy wanted was some Yeezys. He wanted some Yeezys, and so I ordered him off his GOAT website. So he went to school and he was like, Mama, one of my friends was like, bro, your parents must be rich. She was $500, right? And I just think it's cool to hear the kids say certain things. And it just kind of keeps me motivated. And he was like, no, but my mom, I work hard and my mom worked hard and that's what she worked hard for to take care of us. And he was like, man, you wearing them things to school. They must be they must be fake. And he was like, nah, these ain't fake. He was like, bro, I wouldn't wear them shoes to school. But I just think it's cool. Like it's really, really cool.
What would you tell a barber, stylist, dentist, esthetician that's thinking about opening a school? Because like every week we have this every Wednesday, and a lot of them just sit there looking, or they'll be going on YouTube doing all that. What would you tell them about opening a school or versus working in the shop? Because some of them say they tired working behind the chair, but they want to do this, but it's like they scared. But you came from foster care. I mean, you had challenges. I mean, there's no excuse for them. So what would you tell them?
I would tell them to first acknowledge what they want, what the problem is. Why are you still working in the shop? Why, whatever the problem is, when you acknowledge that, then you find a solution. You just work towards the solution. There's no excuses, because if you pray and ask God to lead you and guide you in the way He wants you to go, I feel like that's one of the most important things, because we always want things, and sometimes we neglect the fact that we have to pray and we have to sacrifice and we have to do things that we don't want to do sometimes in order to get what we're trying to get. So if I had to tell somebody something today to keep them motivated, I would say just do it. Just pray about it. And if you're going to put your faith in God, you cannot be fearful, because faith and fear does not go together. And as long as you think about anything that come before you in that way, I promise you God is going to see you through it.
Now, how did you get to know God, or get, because like my grandma and mama was raised in the church. we grew up in the church. They made us go to church. My stepdaddy was a preacher, so I was in church like 3 or 4 times a week. But how did you become to know God? And because you grew up in foster care, so I mean, tell us about that.
Even in foster homes, group homes, facilities, they always implemented things such as church services, and that was a way for us to get out. So I was in tune, and not only was I in tune, it was like everything I went through, like God always reassured me. And then, look, as you get older, you start to reflect back over certain things, and it's like, there's no way I could have gotten through that if God didn't have His hands on me, because we just, I can't really say. I just know that I've always wanted better. And I always knew as long as you do things from the heart, make the right decisions, then God is going to align it. So for me, it's just when we went to church, like I'd be a Pentecostal Baptist, all type of denomination. But the thing of it was who could have gotten me or seen me through if it wasn't Him? Because I didn't have family, So the only solution was I'm an angel. This man got his hands on me. And so I'm really at that phase in life now where I'm getting more in tune and I want to learn more. And because I never just opened the Bible, but the daily reads and things like that, it's just kind of like, okay, cool. I want to know more. And I'm praying and asking God, to help me understand and help me to be a better person. And for that, it's just like, as long as you want to know and you willing, God is gonna make it easier for you. So just going to church, implementing that, I've been to different kinds of churches, but it's just, I don't know. He's a special individual. So I know that that's where my help and strength come from, because sometimes, and another thing that really, really, really made me realize that God was real. This was way before anything. I was dealing with a fugitive, right? Young, dealing with a fugitive, millionaire, drug dealer, do all this stuff, whatever. And so he got sick. And I'm like, I don't want to go through this. Like, I want to have kids. I want to do this, that. And so one day I was driving from Atlanta and I was just praying and crying and praying and crying. And I'm like, Lord, I don't want to go through this. And everything I prayed, I went to church that Sunday and the pastor said it to me. Like, I fell out in church. I fell out in church because everything he was saying to me was what I prayed. And at that moment, I knew God was really real. He was really real. And so what I did was I stepped out on faith. Like, I'm like, I don't want you to pay my bills no more. I closed my account and I told him, I'm like, I can't do this. And I walked away. 1 month, I was $300 short on my rent. 1 month. And it's been going since.
Do you have a couple of minutes for a few questions?
For sure.
Okay.